This is a mock interview conducted by ForumIAS Academy at New Delhi. The interview panel includes eminent academicians, retired bureaucrats, and other luminaries. The objective of the program is to acquaint the candidate with the format and expectations of the personality test conducted by UPSC.
May I come in, sir?
Please come. Yeah. Swapnil, please have your seat.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So if you feel free, you can remove your masks for proper, otherwise you can keep it also.
With your permission, sir?
You can if you want, because we have a distance. Okay. So you are from Meghalaya?
Sir.
Very good. And you are BSc Honours in Physics
Yes, sir.
from Delhi University.
Sir.
And you have studied from Shillong. And you are for the civil services?
No, sir. He was in the Group B service.
You are already employed?
No, sir. I'm currently unemployed, sir.
You are unemployed. And you are appearing for civil service interview,
Yes, sir.
not forest.
No, sir.
Okay. Tell us about your state, how it is important for entire that geography of the Northeast.
So my state of Meghalaya was erstwhile part of Assam and was carved out as a separate state in 1972 as per the Assam Reorganization Act. So in terms of its geography, it is a hill state comprising of three main geographical divisions, that is Garo Hills, Khasi Hills and Jaintia Hills. So it is a frontier state also, having a long border with Bangladesh, and is also an important transit hub and a gateway to the rest of the frontier states in northeastern India, and is important for connectivity to states like Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura. So it is also an administrative and defense hub. We have an Air Force command station there, Eastern Air Command. We have a military station and a large presence of Central Armed Police Forces, as well as civilian offices.
Cherrapunji is part of it?
Yes, sir.
Say something about it.
So Cherrapunji is amongst the wettest places on earth, and in fact, it has there is a singular peculiarity about Cherrapunji. Even though it may receive up to 200 centimeters of rainfall in a day, the area has a perpetual problem of water scarcity, and this is a challenge for all those people who are involved in water management in Cherrapunji. Apart from that, it is
full of water and deficient of water. How these two are contradictory terms for the same place?
So, because of the terrain and the nature of soil of Cherrapunji, it is seen that the water that it receives in terms of rainfall does not reach the aquifers and groundwater reserves. Rather, it is swept away and goes into the fertile plains of Bangladesh on the south.
Is it not forested area?
So it is heavily forested.
Then the forest should play its own role. Ecological services of the trees, that is roots, branches, they should absorb the water. They should put the water into ground, and then it should infiltrate or have a subsurface movement of the water. Why it is not taking place over there?
So the inhabitations that are there in Cherrapunji lie on the leeward side rather than the windward side, and therefore the rainfall, because of the geography, tends to sweep down into the plains of Bangladesh, and the people on the northern side, the inhabitants of Cherrapunji, are not the beneficiaries of this rainfall.
What kind of vegetation is there around the Cherrapunji?
So towards the south, we see temperate deciduous forests, and towards the north, there is,
The deciduous forest means they are broad-leaved forests or they are narrow-leaved? You understand narrow-leaved and broad-leaved? Means pine forests are there?
So in the higher reaches, in the hilly areas where we cross 1,000 meters altitude, we do see cher pine and birch trees. As we go lower, sir, we see sal, teak and other trees, sir.
So it is because of the cheed pine that water does not go into the soil, and it does spread on the ground surface itself and goes away.
Sir, I'm not aware of this fact.
Not aware of. Okay. Some efforts are going on to store that water in the soil itself in India, Indian part of the Meghalaya. Are there soil conservation activities which are going on? Do you have some idea about it?
Sir, in terms of soil conservation, we are trying to reduce the runoff, and there are efforts being made to judiciously use fertilizers, and also to wean away the tribals from the practice of slash and burn and jhum cultivation.
Okay. Good. Please.
Thank you. Swapnil, there has been an issue of rat hole mining. What are the reasons behind that?
So, rat hole mining is alleged to continue. There is an allegation that it is continuing in Meghalaya unabated, despite a categorical ban by the National Green Tribunal. So, as far as the reasons are concerned, I think it has been lax implementation of the ban by the government. And I can also see the practical problems with the implementation of such a ban. Large tracts of the coal seam area, coal-bearing areas in Meghalaya are heavily forested, and it's very difficult to police such areas and to track movement of people. Also, sir, the rat hole mining is an unorganized sector activity, and it is said that many of the miners are migrants. It is difficult to track their movements. They are hired, and due to poverty and due to circumstances that they face, they are forced into these activities. And most of the times, it is only when a disaster strikes that we are even aware that in such and such areas, rat hole mining was indeed taking place. So these are some of the practical problems, sir.
Okay. So one thing is there are issues in implementation, right? But what is driving rat hole mining? What is at the core of this issue? As you have said that there are practical reasons, what are the other reasons that this practice is being continued?
So there is a huge demand for coal from Meghalaya and the neighboring countries, in cement factories and brick kilns. And so this drives demand. And because land is community owned, large tracts of land in Meghalaya are community owned and not owned by the government. Entry into and out of these tracts of land is not monitored. And thereby people can easily enter, and if they sense that this is a coal-bearing area, they are within their. It is very easy for them to exploit these resources without the government coming to know.
Okay, so can you tell me two, three measures that we can implement to stop this rat hole mining in Meghalaya practically?
So at first, we must enforce checks on trucks moving, because it is usually carried by trucks, the coal, and imposing heavy penalties upon these trucks and on the owners of these trucks could be one way. But I think a more lasting solution would be to create better economic opportunities that would perhaps wean away people from this practice towards safer and more productive economic opportunities.
Right. So you have won prize in national level debating. Can you specify more about it?
So I had represented my school on 3 occasions at the national level. So 2 of them were held at the Assam Valley School in Tejpur, and the third was held in New Delhi at Army Public School, Dholakwa.
Okay.
So,
do you think that India is a debating society?
Sir, I would say that we have a long history of debating right from ancient times. It is very common to see gentlemen and ladies debating in villages. We have in fact, villages have been called mini republics in India and institutes of democracy, whereby everything is done through debate, and important decisions in the village are taken after thorough discussion, mediated by a senior member of the village.
Don't you think that it is a very utopian view?
Sir, I would not say it is a utopian view, because the spirit of debate is also extending into our media and into the institutions that we have. We have a vibrant media, we have a vibrant public debate on issues, and debate is central to democracy, and democracy is natural to Indians.
That is fine, but I want to understand the ground aspects. Let's take an example, an average home in India. There are issues that patriarchy is prevailing. Do you think that women get the similar right to voice their opinion?
Sir, I think in this aspect, we are a work in progress. Great strides have been made, and with a continued push on women independence in terms of education and pushing their financial independence through skill programs, and by empowering women to be financially independent, they would be equal partners in the household. So.
Okay. Have you heard of this term called argumentative Indian?
Yes, sir.
Please tell us something about it.
It is the title of a book written by Nobel laureate Amartya Sen, Dr. Amartya Sen.
What do you understand by this term?
Sir, although I haven't read this book, from the title, it can be said that argument comes naturally to Indians and that we are an argumentative society, and that we would not take anything at face value without perhaps weighing in the pros and cons that entail any issue. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
What is the latest figure of GST collection?
Sir, as per the newspaper report yesterday, I believe it is 1.84 or 5 lakh crores.
So at one point of time, we are listening to the argument that economy is slowing down, and this figure tells us that we are really zooming, because the highest ever figure is this that you mentioned. How do you see Indian economy? Are we really zooming, or we are almost at similar stage, or we are in trouble?
Sir, indeed, it is a singular case where we are seeing from major global institutions the risks of a global recession. But then the Indian economy is stated to grow at about 6.4, 6.5% this year, and even higher perhaps next year. Sir, I would peg this to, we've had a very strong monsoon in the past few years, although this year we have a poor forecast in terms of rain. Agricultural exports have been booming. So we've received cheap oil from Russia. That has also reduced our energy cost. There's been a huge push on infrastructure by this government. In fact, I think in the last decade, we've added 40% to our existing road capacity, sir, and I believe this has done well for growth of business. In terms of corporate taxes, we've reduced them a great deal, and India has become an attractive destination for FDI. We have US companies like companies like Apple, I beg your pardon, who have moved a great deal of their production to India. And in this world, post-pandemic world, where many companies are looking to diversify supply chains, I think through PLI scheme and other such schemes, we have attracted a lot of foreign investment in this regard. I believe this has led to this figure of increased GST growth and solid economic performance. So.
Recently, Apple has opened 2 stores in our country. And Apple is pretty expensive phone. We are the country where 80 crore people are offered almost free of cost food by the government, right? But don't you think are we really capable enough to absorb expensive mobile phones of Apple, as they are very optimistic about, in the country where 80 crore people are not even able to afford their 2 times food?
So it is true that this stands as a stark contrast, but then as you said, sir, it is an expensive phone. It is also an object of aspiration for a middle-class Indian, and perhaps it is commodities like this Apple product that drive the Indian middle class to strive to work harder and to produce more for the country. And the fact that Apple has moved their production here, and the fact that they have the confidence to open these stores, I think it shows a positive trend that we are, our middle class is burgeoning, growing, and I think as a consumer base, we are one of the largest consumers in the world, and I think it bodes well for the future of our country, sir.
Indian Foreign Service is your second choice, if I'm correct, right? Few days back, our External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar Sahab, made a statement that Hanuman and Lord Krishna were diplomats. Now, if we see in both the cases, in case of Hanuman, we have again a war, and in case of Lord Krishna, we again have a war, Mahabharata. So don't you think that these were failed diplomats, because in both the cases there was a war?
Sir, I would look at it very differently. So as von Clausewitz has said, that war is simply a means of continuing diplomacy in a different way. Sir, I think they had tried whatever they could, And it is also true that we can only negotiate from a position of power. And in many cases, talks do break down and conflicts do arise. But I do believe that we are steadily moving away from these sort of, we haven't had a world war or any sort of conflict on the scale of a world war for a long time. And conflicts are instead becoming more and more localized. I think this is a positive trend. We are not seeing the same level of death and destruction as we had seen in the last century. And a lot of this has to do with diplomacy and strengthening of the institutions of global debate, discussion, and reconciliation among nations.
So,
एक बार जब भी आप आंसर्स दो, यदि आपको ये लगता है कि थोड़ा सा कंट्रोवर्सी पूछी है, आप अपना व्यूज़ जो है वो इफ्स एंड बट्स में देना.
Right.
आप यू एक्सप्रेस योर सेल्फ what is the common path, but sometimes if you are little away from, either you can take permission of your own words, sir, I can say, though I am not in detail knowing about it, but I can, or if this is and the what this is. So these are the ways to express yourself, but don't go beyond where you can't answer, क्योंकि जो आप बोलोगे उससे क्रॉस क्वेश्चनिंग जरूर होगी. ठीक है ना, क्योंकि इंटरव्यू बोर्ड इज टू सिलेक्ट यू, बट दे विल सी हाउ कॉन्फिडेंट यू आर और हाउ मच डीप यू हैव अ लिटिल नॉलेज ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट. सो दीज आर द पॉइंट्स. थोड़ा सा ये जो आपने जूमिंग शब्द यूज़ किया है, इसको और थोड़ा जूमिंग एंड टोंगियास, हाउ दे आर डिफरेंट, इसको थोड़ा और अच्छे ढंग से पढ़ना, सो दैट कि यू नो द थिंग्स. नाउ उसके ऊपर 5-7 मिनट यदि आपके निकल जाते हैं और आपका अच्छा जाता है, देन दैट विल गिव यू अ गुड कॉन्फिडेंस, एंड इस साइड में भी लगेगा नहीं, यू हैव अ लिटिल डीप नॉलेज अबाउट द एरिया. ओके, गुड लक.
Thank you so much, sir.